Hello, friends and viewers, and welcome to Get a Cat, Get a Horse, the gosh darn best nerd culture podcast around, where the discussions are heated and spoilers may happen on things that you have not read yet. So, be warned, if we talk about it, we have the right to spoil it. See, I almost stuck to the script, Amani. Today I'm joined by two of my very best chums in the whole wide world, Mr. MJ.
What's going on?
I'm assuming you said my name. I can't hear you.
Amani.
Hi. Hello.
Anyways, yes, hello everybody. Hello. And welcome to another stirring episode of Get a Cat, Get a Horse, where we will be talking about our favorite comic book artists and illustrators of all of the times, from the olden days up until the newen days. And this is episode 31? Question mark? Perhaps? I'm losing track.
This is going swimmingly. I feel like you're having like a William Shatner stroke. You're just like, and then he went to the
yeah, he went to the like, because I'm Rocket Man. This is the reading of Rocket Man, his dramatic enactment.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
Oh, it's pretty great. Anyways, so today we are going to be discussing some of illustrative. And I wanted to ask, before we get into that, for you guys, MJ and Amani, what is your relationship with illustration in the comic book medium? And like, when you sort of started reading comic books, was it primarily motivated by a desire to see that kind of art, or was it primarily motivated by story concerns? And did you always sort of pay attention to both of them? The reason I'm asking is because I know from my perspective, I came into comics very interested in story and basically totally dismissive of art. Like when I was reading Watchmen and V for Vendetta, I just didn't really understand the medium that well. And I came in as a novel fan and as a prose fan, and sort of just blew through graphic novels, reading stuff and not really absorbing the art. And I found that over time, I have basically completely switched around from that, to the extent where like now I find myself primarily motivated to pick up work based on the art. Like I am much more of a art-focused comic book reader than I am necessarily a story reader, I feel. So I'm curious as to what your guys' relationship is with that whole thing.
Well, I graduated. I was a illustration major at BYU for the last 4 or 5 years, and so I came in very aware of the art, I think.
Mm-hmm. Did you read comics at all before you were in illustration?
I had read Watchmen, and some of my professors were comic artists, so I had read some of their stuff, but I wasn't like, I'd been exposed to comics, like a little bit here and there, like the classics, like Tintin and some other things when I was younger, but I wasn't like aware of the comics industry the way I am now, obviously. I think everybody dabbles a little bit, when they're younger, picks up a few single issues. I had a decent single issue collection because I decided I wanted to read comics in high school, and then I didn't. I don't know. It's hard to say. There wasn't it was kind of like a slow slide and then all the way in, But an interesting thing that I had read online several months before I really started getting to on Chris Anka's Tumblr, he had like a poll of like what people care about in terms of comics. Do they care about the creative team, like the author? Do they care about the artist? Do they care about the company producing it? Like, and it had like 7 things, and like the percentage of people who cared about the art, who look at comics for the art, was like 17%.
Yeah, I think comics
are really depressed,
lost on that. Yeah.
Yeah, he had this whole long thing about how like, oh great, like I spend like hundreds and hundreds of hours on these issues and like nobody gives a shit,
I do think that like modern comics, like post 2000, like I feel like the 90s did a lot to destroy comic art, unfortunately. Like and to the extent that comics like post, Marvel Knights, like I think of sort of Bendis as being the start of it, but like in my mind, when I think of post 2000 comics, I think of them much more as a writer's realm. Like I really think that people think of them as the writers, as the superstars of modern comics, and that art is not pushed to the forefront as much anymore. And I really think that people read it to like
unfortunate because there's
I think it's
some
unfortunate
really
too.
great modern artists working today that are just killing it, like killing it, who are making some really interesting stuff. I'll also say that I think in the last like maybe 4 years, like there's a shift away from like classic comic art and like comic proportions into more like illustrative stuff that I'm like really enjoying.
No.
Like you take advantage of all that stuff that should happen. And we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
I like that. So.
And what about you, MJ? What's your relationship with comics as a, literary versus art form?
It kind of like went back and forth. Like when I was first introduced to comics, I was a little kid, so a lot of the time I didn't really care about the story. It was more like a visual thing for me. Um, so like I had said a few podcasts before, like one of my first comic books were like some of the Conan books, and for me the story didn't matter. I was just like, oh, this is so crazy. This is weird. Just having, you know, like this man fighting these giant spiders and all, like to me that was amazing. I love the art. And then when I got older and I started getting back into comic books, um, I started reading them and it was kind of the for the story, just kind of blowing through things. And then once I started reading Watchmen style. Like I guess I was reading more modern stuff, and then I started reading Watchmen, and so it was kind of like a shock to the system because I was like, whoa, this is like really. It felt dated, but in a good way, like in a positive way, if that makes any sense. Like it was so like out of the norm that it made me pay attention to it. Um, because a lot of modern comics tend to have like this in-house style. So going to that, like, the Watchmen, and where it's like this kind of, it's like totally different from what more modern styles are. It was like, oh, this is interesting. This is cool. And then I started realizing like, oh, there's like a reason why there's the prose as well as the art, like they go hand in hand and complement one another. In a really well told story, those tend to like, when you get a good creative team going, that's when I think it's like the strongest. But that I think that's what kind of like centered me again, was like reading Watchmen. And since then I take my time going through books. I don't like to blow through them. I like to like I read and then I examine the panel, and then I go to the next one, and then I read and then I examine the panel. So yeah, that's how I go about it. But art is a big thing for me in the comic books.
Yeah, it's funny. I remember like not even that long ago, there's a specific issue from Walt Simonson's Orion run. I don't know if either of you have seen that omnibus or read any of that content, but Walter Simonson did a run on the character Orion from the New Gods in, I think, like the early 2000s or so. And there's an issue in there where it's completely like a wordless fight between Darkseid and Orion. And I remember this was kind of when I was first getting into comic books, maybe like 3 years ago or so. And my friend he showed me this issue, and he was like, oh, this is the most incredible issue in the world. And I read it in like I just read through the whole thing. I just flipped through it, and I was like, I don't get it. Like this, this was dumb. And I went back recently and I looked at it and I was like, holy shit, this is amazing. Like the stuff that he was doing with, showing the fight and like showing the people in the background and like the way he paneled it and everything. And it took me a while to come to comic books at that level and that kind of understanding of the art. Like I feel like I definitely was somebody who started off just on the polar opposite and just didn't really understand it. And as I grew to understand what I liked more and more about the art, it sort of dominated my view of comics.
I'm going to be real. I think there's like
kind of funny
curve that you have to go through for it, right? Because
I think there's definitely a learning curve.
As much as there's like amazing art out there, there's also like just perfectly ordinary, perfectly normalized like, classic comic paneling, right? And like classic comic art where like everybody looks the same, everybody feels the same, and like developing like a sensitivity to that takes a lot of time, I think. So I don't know, it's a process. It's continual.
I agree. It is continual. It is a constant learning thing. And so in the spirit of constant learning, We have decided today that I'm sorry, my throat, I'm still a little sick, but we've decided today that some of our most favorite comic book artists with you guys, and this is definitely where watching the stream or watching on YouTube I think will be beneficial, because we're going to basically try to broadcast the
Images.
on the images, yes, on the Hangout them. So for people who are watching, who are just listening through the podcast, totally cool. I mean, I think you'll still hopefully come away with this come away from this with a couple recommendations from each of us and kind of understanding how each of us approaches comics. But if you can watch it on YouTube or on this stream right now, obviously you are watching it, I think it will be an excellent sort of way to view some of these things. So without further ado, I'd like to go first in this round robin. Should I kick it off, or would you like to start, one of you guys? Do you have something that you would like to talk about?
I think the person who graduated from college most recently should go.
Oh yeah, congratulations to MJ. Oh wait,
No way.
Oh no.
Congratulations to Amani, I mean.
Oh no.
You can take it off and talk about whoever you want. I will focus the camera on you, and in theory, when you screen share with us, just try to make it as large as possible in the window, and we should be able to see it pretty easily.
Cool. Let me just pull up my examples, and I will do that right
Absolutely.
now.
Right now.
Okay. Oh.
So I figured we could do one like artist, and then go to the next person, do one artist, and come sort of loop back around.
Sounds good. Okay. So my first artist is Jake Wyatt. Those of you who've been around my channel or been on this podcast for a while know that I'm a big fan. He was an alumni of BYU.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Isn't that like utterly gorgeous?
Very Mobius.
Yes. He has a lot of influence, I think, from Mobius. He's like sort of like this modern Mobius Mignola like amalgamation. That's really
It is, yeah. That's gorgeous. I love that.
Yeah. So this is a panel. It's one of the prologue panels from his webcomic Necropolis, which you should all go check out. He's doing it in his own free time, so it's slow to come out. But what he has so far is absolutely breathtaking, mind-blowing, incredible, crazy gorgeousness. He hasn't done a lot of like in studio comics. He worked for Marvel for a while, and he worked on Miss Marvel. He did a really cool couple issues for Miss Marvel where she and Wolverine team up, and it's really funny and lighthearted, and is it's a real good time. And he also did some stuff for Hulk, and his take on Hulk is really, really, really interesting. Maybe I'll bring it up.
I didn't know that he had worked on any big two stuff. I thought it was just explain to me a little bit.
The story of how he got the job. The story of how he got the job for Marvel is actually really, really cool and awesome. He was in between jobs. He like really wanted to start working in comics, and he wasn't quite sure like how. So he did this thing where he just drew fan art of Marvel every day. One piece of Marvel fan art every day for a month. And Marvel saw it, and they're like, okay, you know how to draw. You're amazing. Like, we're going to hire you. So through that, he started doing Miss Marvel and Hulk and a few other things. And then he decided to kind of pull away from big studio comics and start doing his own thing, which is actually awesome and great. So if you're interested in him, he has this kind of, I think we've said it, Mobius mixed with a Mignola style. He has a really great sense of color. He has a really great sense of line, really great, interesting character designs, stuff you don't really see. Like, it's not mainstream in any way, shape, or form. Another cool thing about him, if you feel like going through his Tumblr, he did a lot of these, like what's on screen right now, these like test comics when he was a student, where he'd do shorter, like 1 to 6 page comics that were just like pure tests, like just him kind of like feeling out like comics as a medium, comics as art. This one, Luminente, is one of my favorites. He also did a really cool like series on Robin, and this is I think 6 or 7 pages. This is the first page of it. It is really, really, really cool. Definitely recommend go checking that out. He's interesting because you kind of have to go sort of dig through his his um like YouTube, not YouTube, his Tumblr to like kind of see like everything that he's done. But I think that makes it better, honestly, because
Yeah, so I have a
this is
couple questions.
go for it.
Is there anything like published or like you're able to recommend to somebody if they want his stuff? Like, does he have sketchbooks or art books or like what? How can we see? Is there any way to
Weird.
outside of his Tumblr? Is what I'm asking.
Um, so Necropolis is a webcomic that you can find online, and you should totally go check that out and read that.
Is it, and how's that working? Is it like just done page by?
Yeah,
Just
as he
posted
has time
pages at a
to
time?
post pages, he will. And he actually hand draws and hand
Interesting.
inks and then scans and colors them himself. So the whole process is him, like from writing to
Wow.
like all the way through.
It's impressive.
It is impressive, and
is
the
impressive.
writing on it is absolutely like it's amazing. It's excellent. It's really really good. So not only is he an amazing artist, he's an incredible writer. If you want a quick pitch on Acropolis, it's a girl. She has this crazy magic sword. She's cursed to like basically win every battle she's in, and she has to now deal with all that nonsense. And there's like a bunch of mythology from the world that's coming into play with that. Really odd world building, really like interesting, weird, kind of like crazy odd world building. But the art in and of itself it's astounding. Like it's incredible. Those of you who watched
Yeah,
my
I found him
CTN
through Tumblr,
haul,
and I was really impressed with him.
yeah, those of you who saw my haul from last year from CTN know that I have an art book from him, and he has a couple, and he cons all the time. So if you check your local con or some of the bigger cons that you might be able to go to, he might be there, and you can like go get his sketchbooks and stuff, which are available. Comics, he's an art director at Moonbot, so he's not like super on his schedule right now, but you know we get what we get. So
And
Jake
so that
Wyatt,
is
one
Jake
to
Wyatt
watch.
spelled like Jake, and then Wyatt like Wyatt, as I
Yeah.
remember it right. Yep.
Wyatt, I believe.
Yep.
Yeah. He's amazing.
I wholeheartedly throw my endorsement behind him as well. I like
Have
all of
you
his stuff
read
that I've seen on Tumblr.
you haven't read your Miss Marvel stuff yet that you've gotten, right, Will?
No, I didn't actually know he was involved in it. I just have the
Yeah,
first
I
OHC
think
of it,
he
but
I think he only did a few issues in there. So it'll be exciting for you to find those, like little treasures in the middle of the run.
yeah, exactly. And it's
Yeah.
definitely more of an illustration bent, like you were saying, like where there's sort of that world that you come from, like it illustration as it does classic comic inspiration, I feel like.
Can I ask a question actually about that to both of you? Do you guys find
sure.
that shift in sort of artistic point of view jarring when you're reading, or do you kind of enjoy like going out of the norm a little bit and kind of like, do you know what I'm trying to say? Like I find it really comforting because like that's the artistic like style like I'm like most familiar with. But like I wonder for like people who are specifically like came in through classic comics.
Yeah,
like,
comics
really,
is different.
Yeah, who are really invested in like the history of comics, who have read a lot of Golden Age and Silver Age, like how they feel about that shift now. That like
I personally like it a lot because, like the last person said, Sindra Turks. I don't know if that's how you say your first name, but it is very European. Because if you read like European comics from a long time ago, like they were always toying with more illustrative and less, of the muscle-bound American style. Whether you go to like Asterix or if you go to even Karl Barks and Don Rosa doing Duck Comics back in the day, it was like very, Disney illustration style. What's his name? Tintin. So like for me, I actually see it as kind of a return to like even more classic comics to a certain extent. Like
you're so right. It is. It's more classic.
I mean, it's sort of
classic
and like
plus.
The thing that is the only thing that is jarring to me about it is that when it's mixed in with a run with other art styles, like I really love that illustration as a influence is being worn more on its sleeve in modern comics. However, if it was something where it was like I was reading, a Jim Lee issue and then the next issue was done by Jake Wyatt, I would probably be like, whoa, like what the fuck is going on? Like, and so that's part of why I have a hard time with some modern comic runs where the creative teams change so much, and like where it might be very illustration and then the next issue be very not illustration. So I don't know, like that's my only kind of gripe with it, is that if it's going to go with one style, I prefer consistency. But like for me, I definitely love things that are more influenced by, classic illustration and less by like, necessarily the Kirby and Ditko kind of like muscly dude.
Yeah.
Adam, I'll speak on your behalf.
I just looked at the comments moment. It's not printed anywhere. It's like not collected anywhere yet. I think he's waiting to get like the first arc together and then he'll print them probably personally. So yeah. Next person.
That, oh, I didn't want to cut off MJ. Did you want to talk about the style?
Yeah, MJ, what are your thoughts?
I think it looks awesome. I really like the art style when it's like super kind of hyper detailed like that. Where I feel like if you were to zoom in on it, you'd notice even more detail. Like, I think it's interesting when artists spend that much time on a single panel, especially considering like how much time consumers of comics generally spend on a single panel. Like
on a single panel, I know.
Like, I think like it speaks to the artist itself. Like they're saying like, you know what, fuck it. Like this is for me. I'm doing this. Like that's what I read from it. Whether or not they actually feel that way, I don't know. But that's the way I see it, is when like an artist spends that much time, like that much detail on something like that. I'm like, this person really cares about their craft. So I don't know. I really enjoy stuff like that. And I agree with the whole like European style. You get to see a lot of that. Like somebody mentioned Mobius, a lot in the humanoids releases that are coming out. You get to see a lot of that like hyper detail in the art style. Yeah,
it's also
really
European in that he's like writing his own stuff too. Like he is all encompassing in this
process.
Yeah,
I really enjoy like people who are able to draw and write a really well thought out story. I think
it's pretty rare.
Yeah, it's really rare, but I think it's even more rare when you get an artist who is that capable, if that makes any sense.
Totally. No, it does. You should check out Necropolis. I highly recommend it. It's slow going.
I think, Amani, did you mean to post that in the YouTube chat? Because you posted that in our local Google chat.
I should do it in both. I'm gonna put a link, guys, for all y'all's.
All y'all's. Check it out.
It won't let me.
If you're in the I'm
gonna do it again.
I can just post it from your from the chat that you had here into the channel.
How come it won't let me post a link?
I don't know.
Just remove any web addresses and try again. Whatever, we'll just do it.
You went super robo on me for a second, but yes, if you want to check out the Necropolis link is in the chat. Anyway, all right, MJ, do you want to take away one?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Who do you like?
Well, one is kind of hard to explain it. It's more so I like his covers a lot. His run on Wolverine Origins that he did, it was like really short, but it caught me off guard because it kind of came in near the end of the run. And this is a Doug Braithwaite. Let me see. Let me get it all. Pictures all set up here. All set up in her. And let me screen share. Okay, there we go. He has a very interesting style, and like when you're reading the
painterly almost.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's like if you look even closer, you can see the pencil, like the sketching underneath the colors. It's really interesting, and it caught me really off guard when I was going through it, because I think the beginning of the Wolverine Origins run starts with Steve Dillon. So going from, like a person like Steve Dillon doing the art,
to this is quite different.
To something that's very like, I want to say like almost noir. Like I imagine if Doug Braithwaite did a noir book, it would be really great. Because if you ever look at just his like pencil work, it has like this work with shadows that he does a lot. Let me see if I can pull it.
That reminds me of Assad Ribic a little bit. That kind of that style to it.
A little bit.
Who will be talked about later by somebody else.
And here's another one that I really enjoy. But yeah, he has a really interesting way of drawing the characters. They're almost like really realistic, but I I just like that you can see the line work, the pencils underneath all the colors. The choice of colors as well is really interesting. It's not like these hard, um, like what you see in a lot of modern comics. It looks almost like watercolor, kind of. I'm not an artist, so I'm just kind of like, oh, the thing in that. So, but yeah, it's hard for me to explain it, but it's something that caught me. It made me go like, oh shit, this is really cool. This is really interesting. Um,
So you prefer his covers to his in?
I was about to say, does he have interior work, or is he mostly a pinup and
Yeah,
cover
yeah.
guy?
No, he does. He has a few issues with interior work, but what bothers me about the interior is they color it the way it's colored. I didn't really enjoy the way it was colored. It didn't have like the watercolor feel to it. It had very much a just kind of the way everything else is colored, and I feel like it took away from his art style. Um,
Does he? Are there even inks on that? Because it looks almost like it could be colored direct on the
I have no idea,
pencils.
but it looks
Because I think that's how
awesome.
like
Like,
Assad Ribic does it for some of his stuff. I believe he
It's
doesn't
from
do
pencil
inks.
to straight to color, right?
Yeah, which gives it like a much more, like you were saying, MJ, like a washed out painterly like watercolor tone.
yeah, it's just interesting. Like here I'll zoom in a little bit so you can kind of get a little bit more detail in the image. But I don't know. I really like the detail that's in the image itself, and just I feel that the colors really add to the detail. And he does a lot. Like, if you look at his pencil work, like he works with shadows very interestingly. Um, I don't
He
know.
also
I
like
just really enjoy his
he
stuff.
has like a weird interpretation of like human anatomy that I'm kind of in like I enjoy that because it like breaks the sameness of like a lot of things you see, you know?
Yeah, I like. It's hard to explain it, but I really
Those biceps, though.
enjoy it. Well, it is Wolverine, man. It's got to be all short and buff. But there's some other covers that he did with like Wolverine fighting Hulk's son. I forget what the character's name is, but that's really interesting as well. But yeah, Doug Braithwaite. If you get a chance, check his work out. I really like some of his stuff.
Nice.
Cool.
I have never heard of him, but that does look
To me, it's
interesting.
like a better version of Simone Bianchi, which I really don't like. This is kind of like him doing like more to my aesthetic, if you will.
Yeah, I don't know Simone Bianchi either, so I can't speak to
I'm
that.
sure if you saw it, you'd be like, "Oh
I
yeah, that guy." I don't know.
that guy. I know that name. That name sounds really familiar to me.
Yeah. All right. I will stop screen
Excellent.
sharing here.
Cool.
Cool beans. All right, my turn. I had a hard time with this list because I wasn't sure what I wanted to spotlight and I'm not sure. I'm still not sure exactly where I want to go because I put more artists than we probably have time to talk about. But the reason I was a little bit conflicted was because like I live, breathe, and can die in the Silver Age of comic book art. Meant that if I listed all of my artists that are my favorite, like I did here, it is going to be largely the same group of people from the same time period. And yes, Kirby is incoming. So I'm still not exactly sure what I'm going to speak about because I have some artists on my list that are more modern, but like if I'm being true to myself, the ones that I love the absolute most are certainly, Silver Age, pen and ink, hard line, black and white, like that kind of stuff. I love that stuff. However, I like many of you know, I have spoken extensively about these guys on my channel. So again, it's kind of like a mix. It's like, do I want to talk about the same kind of things that I've talked about a lot, or do I want to maybe, expand it a little bit? But for the first one, I absolutely need to talk about Jack Kirby. For me, he is
We're
the
all
be all end all.
utterly shocked that you would bring up Jack
I know.
Kirby in this list.
I know. No, I know. It's cliched maybe to talk about, but I really and truly think, in terms of capturing the energy of comic book art, that I just don't get the feeling from him that I get from almost no other artist gives me that feeling. There's other artists that I certainly, say do other things that I like better than Kirby. There's Kirby's anatomy and his hands and his feet are not, they are shorthand. I think he ultimately is such an amazing artist because he's created this shorthand of expression where he can knock out. I mean, this guy was doing 10 pages a day sometimes back in the day, and that's absurd.
It's insanity. How did he do that?
I know, it's unbelievable. Marvel Comics from 1962 to 1968 was basically Jack Kirby just doing everything. He did everything except for Spider-Man and Doctor Strange. Those were Ditko stuff. But it's unbelievable. And for me especially, Kirby is it's all about the spreads and the 2-page spreads and stuff. So let me see how I can actually get this screen share thing to work, because as soon as I hover my mouse over it, it's gone away. What is happening? Oh god. Vamp. Somebody vamp.
Yeah, Kirby's okay. I mean, we can't all respect Will's opinion all the time. So feel free to disagree with him in the comments, to tell him why he's wrong.
Please do.
I want everybody to feel comfortable here.
So hopefully you guys can see this right now. But this is a...
Don't forget to highlight yourself so you stay up, like that window that you want us to look at.
Well, I will be right back.
I believe it is.
Okay.
So this is the part of the reason why I just absolutely love Kirby, is the amount of stuff that he can fit into his spreads and the way he shows it to everybody. I think it's really, really just mind-blowing. I don't know. I understand that, like I said, his anatomy is weird in places and everything, but as just a impact gut punch artist, I don't get the feeling that Kirby gives me from anybody else. Is very, very strict. And Amani, you were mentioning this when we were discussing a little bit about Squadron Supreme earlier before the podcast, but he's very strict about his paneling and his layouts. He is not somebody who breaks convention ever. If you read his books, it's basically all 4 panels to a page, 6 panels to a page, and 1 and 2 page spreads. But I think it works because he is able to tell so much of a story and show so much action in these blocks of artistic dump. And whether it is something like Jack or what's it called, Captain America, which is less fantastic, it's a little bit more rooted in reality, although his Captain America run gets particularly weird. Something like Captain America, just like this, the amount of dynamic ability that he brings, and I believe it's called foreshortening. I'm not sure, I'm not artistically like that up and up, but kind of that ability to show the limbs and the bodies and all stretched and proportioned in such
it is called foreshortening
ways. Yeah. I get enough of it. Here's a spread from the Demon that he did.
Question.
In the 70s. Yeah, what's up?
Question for people unfamiliar with Jack Kirby. If you were going to pick one place to start.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
Where would you send us?
I don't quite know. It's hard to say, because there's so much content out there. I mean, the classic answer would be the Fantastic Four run, from 1962 to 1967 or something like that. I think he worked on it. So that's a pretty safe answer. I also think that the Fourth World stuff that he did at DC was good. I almost would say Commandy might be a good choice. If you know about Commandy, or it's The Last Boy on Earth, I think is what it's called. It's something around 60 issues, and it's all sort of self-contained, and it's kind of like Jack Kirby's version of a crazy Planet of the Apes story, which I think is really good. Also, OMAC would be a good choice. Benjamin Younson. Yes, Jack Kirby wrote and drew Commandy.
Cool.
So, and the thing about Kirby is that he is not an inker. He's just not. Like, there are occasional times when he inked his own stuff, but it's few and far between. And the majority of people, like when you get really deep into Kirby fandom, you start to talk about who your favorite Kirby inker is and like who you think represented his like style the best. For me, it's Joe Sinnott, I guess, or Joe Sinnott would be the one who I think he worked the best with. He did a lot of his DC Comics work with Mike Royer. It's incredible. And yeah, what Moment is saying, actually, Kirby has probably worked on one of your favorite characters. So honestly, like that might be a good way to do it, is just say like, what character do I like? There's probably a Jack Kirby version of it, because he worked at both Marvel and DC and had extensive work on all their stuff. But for me, I would say like I think Commandy is a good point, because that is kind of its own world. It's like this, like I said, Planet of the Apes, like post-apocalypse, like animals are taking over and humans have to fight back against them, kind of thing. Or like if you're looking at the Marvel stuff, you know, possibly Fantastic Four or anything really from that kind of 60s time period. But yeah, I really love him. I think he's an amazing artist. You know, there's documentaries and stuff on him, of course, where they talk about how he didn't do layouts like that much. He would just start in the corner of a page and finish in the other corner, like just like like a printer, which is astonishing. I mean, for what he was doing, it's crazy. Like, you know, pumping out upwards of half a dozen to 10 pages a day, and without layouts, and like it's mind-blowing. So yeah, I mean, when he writes his own stuff, like in the 70s onwards, it gets kind of esoteric and weird. He's like way into strange things, and it shows. So perhaps if you want it to be a little bit more grounded, some of the Stan Lee stuff might be a little safer. But I really think any of it's good. So yeah, for me, my be all end all is probably Kirby. And yeah, I would recommend checking out Commandy and see what you think about that, because that might be a good starting point. It was actually like sort of developed as this when he was at DC. I think they didn't really know what to do with him because comics were changing so much. Like, you know, it was the 70s, and sort of the Silver Age stuff was kind of done with and seen as a little bit older. And so they sort of had him like developing properties for like animation and stuff like that. So he did Devil Dinosaur, which was like meant to be kind of like a pitch for a kids show. He did Commandy, which was meant to be something kind of like pitched as like DC's Planet of the Apes. A lot of different weird stuff at that time, but yeah, check it out. Love him to death.
Cool.
All right.
Glad you're in love.
Amani, I take it you do not like him. What do you?
I do not have any ill will towards Jack Kirby. I think there's a reason people are so enthralled with him, and I think that's awesome. I think you like what you like, and that's the way life should be. But I also find his stuff to lack composition and to lack focal point and just like sort of a point of view.
Yeah, it just sort of overwhelms you with.
Yeah, it's just all like a punch in the face, and then he moves on.
I love and I love that about it. You know, I absolutely agree and think that is certainly something you could criticize against him. But like, if you're looking for a punch in the face, then Kirby's your man. But
I'm
I do
not
agree with
mad
you.
at the punch in the face. It's just not what I naturally.
Yeah. No, yeah. I totally understand.
Towards.
I do think I would call his art to like is much more of a visceral gut punch experience, and not something that maybe you can like get, you know, dig deep in and get lost in all like the little squiggles and details. Like, and yeah, but I do like that about him. That's like what I enjoy.
Think also this is something we've talked about a ton, Will, is like the context of when he was making it. Like, this guy is hugely influential on a lot of people that I still like really like, you know, like I wouldn't have Jake Wyatt without Jack Kirby, you know, like it just wouldn't happen. Like, he kind of laid the groundwork for comics being what they are today, you know?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, and he was active up until the 80s. Like and you know, his style didn't change that much from like 1962 until like 1986. It was basically the same. Like, he has stuff earlier than 60s, like in the 40s and the 50s, which is a little bit rougher. But you're right. Like, from 1960 until 1980, like he was basically doing the same stuff over and over again. Kind of static, but yeah, it's awesome. For me, I enjoy it at least. So what you got, Amani?
Okay, speaking of quintessential classic choices, ones that everybody knows about, ones you're going to roll your eye at, I'm going to talk about Mike Mignola because you have to. If you're doing your favorite comic artist, you have to mention him at least once.
I agree. I think he's up there.
This guy
So
is a
good.
genius. He's a genius. Look at this. Everybody look. Take a second.
Look at this. You see this shit? Look at this shit.
You see this shit? Look at this. It's
See this shit?
absolutely
Look at this shit.
incredible. He also, in terms of like legacy and influence, I don't know if I can think of a comic artist who has had more influence on not just comics, but illustration, like across just like genres, media. Like this guy has his shit figured out. He knows what he's doing.
I used to come around in the 80s and be like, look, I'm going to draw shit in a weird way. And
everybody being like, all right.
Yeah,
cool.
like there wasn't really like that much stuff going on pre him in mainstream, especially in like Marvel and DC. Like he had a lot of work in DC that was just weird and like it was pretty groundbreaking.
Well, and like this idea, we've talked a lot about like the European style of comics, right?
Yeah.
He kind of like broke through that in the American market in a lot of ways, I feel. Like he's the inception, giving artists, like empowering them to just do whatever the hell they want, not trying to look a certain way. I absolutely
agree with that.
Not trying to have a certain kind of content, you know? I love him. I think he's absolutely fabulous. And I have the library editions of Hellboy. Flipping through those, it's every panel. Every panel is this level, what you see on screen, this level of composition, this level of thought, this level of skill. Like the quality control in his stuff is astounding. Every single panel, every single page is this amazing. And it's like, how are you this good? How are you this much of a genius? Like, I don't understand. It makes me frustrated. It makes me sad. Look at this, guys. Look.
Yeah, his ink work is
astonishing. You're not making any noises. Are you having an aneurysm? Because it's so amazing. I know I am. Like, I don't know how to describe this. It's so good. I'm freaking out. I think what he does that's
I just love like his use of like white space against like dark.
Yeah, like
stuff.
negative
like,
space.
So good.
Like
Yes. I think inking, he doesn't really have like maybe somebody you're going to bring up who you just introduced me to, Will, who I'm excited for you to talk about. Maybe him could like compete. Williamson or however you say his last name.
There's a couple inkers who I think are like up there in the pantheon. And I do think that Mignola handles ink in like a way that is just unlike a lot of people.
And what also is crazy about him is that his stuff is so simple and like you still know what everything feels like, right? Like you know what this octopus would feel like if you touched it. You know what this would feel like if you touched it. You know what this fish would feel like. And he's using like an insane amount of lines, like so few lines. He has absolutely got a shorthand that is almost like where other people would draw 18 lines, he draws 2, you know? And it works. It works.
Yeah, he does have a very minimalist.
And then the way his stuff translates into color, like
it's great.
Hello, am I even alive right now? Have I transcended to something that I can't even comprehend? He's incredible. Okay, guys, are you ready to see a Manny's version of Mignola? Because I did a master like an emulation style of him. Yeah, I'm about to show you. Because this is the thing, like. Students study him, you know, they try and figure him out. They try and see what makes him tick. And obviously I didn't like really figure it out, but like, this is an example of
that's cool,
how
it looks good.
Influential he is, you know, like everybody I know, every single person I know in the program has tried to emulate Mignola because he's just that good. Everybody.
I like his use of lines. Very angular. I really like that about his work.
It kind of reminds me of like when Frank Miller is actually like on his game, like because there's a lot of times when I think Frank Miller stuff is good but not great, but like when you look at some of the best stuff that Miller did and where it's kind of like using that negative space and then like especially the way it's colored when it's like one flat color for like a lot of the a lot of the space, like it looks so good.
Yeah, I would agree with that from what the Frank Miller stuff I've seen, but I feel like Mignola, his quality control is absolutely bonkers, insanity.
Oh, no, I do think like, yeah. He doesn't put out a lot of bad stuff at all.
I don't think he's ever drawn a bad drawing. Like it's not happened. This guy was born with a pencil in his hand. Like he's a savant.
He's now, I believe he has
a new run,
some
right?
bad
coming out?
arthritis though. Like I don't think he produces that much stuff anymore. I think it's painful for him to draw now.
Somebody was telling me that he's going to be coming out with more Hellboy content.
No, he is. Like there's more Hellboy content coming out, but he is his like, and he writes a lot. He's very involved in the Hellboy universe and its writing. But I don't think that he produces at the like rate that he used to. Like I think his just production is not as fast as it once was.
So really quick, I know I've talked about him at nauseum, but if you maybe want to start somewhere different than Hellboy, because there's so much content there and there's so much like BPRD and Plague of Frogs and all this nonsense, like where do I start? You can pick up the single volume. You all have this. Like you all have Hellboy. Who am I kidding right now? We all know you own this shit. But if you want to start off somewhere a little bit less intimidating, you can start with something called The Amazing Screw-On-Head.
Yes.
It's this weird alt-world story. MJ, you feel me.
Good.
You feel me. Have you seen the pilot episode? Have you seen the pilot?
With Paul
Isn't
Giamatti.
It sick?
Paul Giamatti doing the voice of the Screw-On-Head.
Oh my god, it's so good. It's
great.
so good. So it's a short series of comics. I think it's like maybe 4 to 6 issues. It's super affordable to pick up in hardcover.
It's like $10.
You can get a taste. Yeah, you can get a taste of Mignola and how weird, crazy, bonkers he is. He likes this sort of storytelling matches his art. It's very noir, like fantasy, like nuts stuff, nuts, crazy. You can't. So much craziness. It's happening.
Imani's having a stroke.
I know you are. This is the most excited I've ever seen you about anything.
It's because it's Mignola, okay? It's because it's Mignola. I have to bring the energy. I've literally had 5 hours of sleep. I'm losing.
He's also
it.
he's a really cool guy. Like interviews. I know he's in a Mobius documentary that I was watching a while ago, where he talks about like when Mobius came over and did some work for Marvel in the 80s. And how like he thought that was going to change everything, and it didn't. And sort of he expresses his like frustration with like, that people say like, oh, we love your stuff, and then they bring him to DC and they're like, all right, now draw your stuff like we draw it. And he's like, no, fuck you, I want to draw my stuff how I want to draw it. And so like that's what was kind of like a big point for him doing so much creator-owned stuff with Hellboy and Dark Horse, is that eventually he came to realize that he'll never be able to do fully what he wants to do at one of those big publishers. So I don't know, he's just an interesting person to listen and to talk about.
I've heard like fans have had nothing but awesome experiences too, like just getting him, the ones who do get to like get him to autograph stuff, and like I've heard he's just a sweet guy, which is great. Isn't that awesome? When
he did do a
not assholes.
That is, yeah. On the conversely, when you meet somebody who you think is going to be great and they suck, it like really sucks. Live to Rock mentioned that he did do a book, a Doctor Strange, Doctor Doom, Triumph and Torment book that was.
I haven't read that, but I want to.
That's a Mignola one. There's also a he did something with Jim Starlin called Cosmic Odyssey. I think it was like either in the late 80s or early 90s, and that's getting a deluxe edition either later this year or next year, which is Jim Starlin wrote it and he drew it. Mignola drew it, which is DC Cosmic. So if you are interested in seeing a little bit more of his.
Yeah, another thing to mention, just to get on top of that, is like if you've read Amazing Screw-On-Head, definitely go check out the pilot episode they did for the TV show that never got greenlit, but that pilot episode is amazing. Seeing his stuff realized like in animated form it's a lot of fun. It's really sick.
He also has a couple artist editions through IDW. If you really are into him, there's a Hellboy in Hell and Other Stories artist edition, as well as a Screw-On-Head artist edition. And
getting that extra content, like seeing the sketches and stuff, is worth it. Like his development is craziness. It's really cool. From picking the artists, like not based on the content or the story. Like Hellboy's awesome, but like Mignola's art, like you could just stare at it all day. Like it doesn't matter what the content is, in my opinion. His art is just so crazy good.
He's a good writer too. I know he did some work on the Colossal Conan run. Like I think he filled in for a couple issues when it went like a little bit more cosmic horror, and it was really good. Like he's just a really solid dude.
Guys, I'm reading your comments in the chat. I'm glad you enjoyed the freak out as much as Will and MJ did.
Yeah, I'm still like, whoa.
I have a lot of energy when it comes to Mignola, okay? Will, I want to see that same level of enthusiasm on your next artist. Why don't you Why don't you take it away?
Oh, I don't know that
No, it's
I'd be
MJ's
able
turn.
to.
MJ, yeah, that's what I meant. MJ,
Yeah, I
bring
don't
up
know
the
that
energy
I'm
level.
gonna be
You
able
can
to
top it.
match that.
You can top it. I believe
Me,
you.
like the most low energy person you've probably ever met. Yeah, I
I
don't know
haven't met
about
that many
that.
people that are more low energy than you.
So, no, thank you. Uh,
My cat used to sleep a lot, and it kind of reminds me of you a little bit.
awesome. All right, I'll
Awesome.
take.
Cool.
I'll take it.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that was a compliment. It's more of an observation.
Well, I'll take it either way. I'll take your observation.
Cool.
Um, for me, another artist I would pick. It's kind of very similar to, um, what Imani. I forget Wyatt was his last name, right?
Jake White.
Yeah.
Jake Wyatt. Yeah. This guy is kind of similar in the sense. Jeff Darrow. He's done some work with Frank Miller on
Quite
Hard
a
Boiled.
guy.
Yeah. His artwork like just blows my mind every single time I read any of his like stuff that he's working on. The amount of detail, it's like the most intense like Where's Waldo drawing you've ever seen.
It is like a
Uh,
Where's Waldo.
Yeah, like his work hurts my eyes sometimes because it's like that intensely detailed. Um, so like for instance, this image, like you could zoom it in and you like there's even more detail on top of detail. I don't know if you've ever read Hard Boiled
I have.
that he did with Frank Miller. That one's pretty nuts. There's
It's
like,
getting a hardcover release, I'm pretty sure, in upcoming.
oh really? I'll
I
be
think.
picking that up. That one's like weird sci-fi stuff, and I think it really lends to his art style. Like it leans into his art style really heavily. Because even when there's not really a lot going on in the dialogue or like the just looking at the panels, there's so much like interesting detail that's going on that you're just pulling things from this weird world that they're creating, and I think Darrow's artwork really brings it to like a whole different level. Um, but yeah, like even his more simple stuff where it's not crazy, I think it's really pretty.
It's an Avatar
Really,
piece.
no, I think this is from
That's a
Shaolin.
Korra.
Oh, is it? Oh, okay. No, I was thinking this was from the Shaolin's
Shaolin Cowboy. That's definitely
Cowboy,
Korra,
yeah.
and that's definitely an Avatar.
But yeah, he does like I don't
Oh,
know.
that's cool.
I think he is a really great artist. Like the amount of detail that he puts into his work is like on an entirely different level. Um, but yeah,
He
that's
apprenticed with Mobius.
yeah. It
Mobius.
totally shows. Yeah,
They
that's
have
for
a
sure.
portfolio together called City of Fire. That's like I think it's like 10 plates or something like that. That is nuts. If you search like Darrow, Mobius, City of Fire, they collaborated on it.
But yeah,
And yeah, like especially like that scene the panel you showed from Hard Boiled, with like all the robot arms and stuff going everywhere, like
this one here.
that could be out of the Incal. Like the top of that, it looks exactly like some of the spidery, like techno, priest stuff from the Incal.
Yeah, but I don't know. I really like the extreme detail. Like this is like on an entirely different level of detail. Like there's detail, and then there's just like stuff that makes your brain hurt when you look at it. And
It is, yeah. It takes a while to absorb his stuff.
yeah, this is like one of those things where like
MJ
you
enjoys
can't.
the same.
This is like one of the things where like you can't read like blow through it with without noticing the art. Like it's not one of those books where you're like, oh, the art, okay, cool. Like it's one of those things.
No,
like,
it
holy
is. Yeah,
shit,
it
like,
is
I
an
wanna
art
look
book.
at this. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think one of his like I think he's a really great artist. I'm not too familiar with a lot of his work, but the stuff I have
He
read
honestly
is
doesn't
totally.
have that much stuff.
Yeah, I know he did some work on Deadpool, some covers.
He did covers, yeah.
Yeah, with the on that was it the Posehn Dugan run? Was that
It
the one?
was. I think it might have been Daniel Way. I feel like what's his name? Wasn't the Poseidon Dugan one done by the guy who did Walking Tony Moore? Maybe, I don't know. I'm not
I'm
sure.
not entirely sure, but anyway, yeah, I really enjoy his stuff. I think it's always a treat to like read through his. It's one that takes me a long time to finish one of his books, just because I'm always like oh, this is so, oh, I didn't ever notice like this weird thing over here in this corner. Like everything's like there's always something happening in every panel, even if it's like not the main focus. There's always like things going on, and that I really appreciate that.
Yeah, solid
All
choice.
right.
Yeah, I like Jeff Darrow.
All right.
It is overwhelming. You ever read any of his stuff, Amani? Is that like
No, I
your
haven't,
thing or not?
but I appreciate the art that takes the content to like that rereadability level. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like where the art is complex enough that going through it a second time is just as rewarding. I think that shows like a real maturity, you know, in like the interpretation of the text that I really enjoy. So he sounds like somebody I should check out, especially the Ed Brubaker stuff. Like I've been interested in picking up Criminal for a while. So
That's
I don't know.
Sean
That's
Phillips.
not.
Yeah, that's
That's
Sean
not
what was the
a.
one
Phillips.
that he did with Ed Brubaker that you were talking about?
Oh, I was saying with Frank
Jeff
Miller.
Darrow did not.
Okay, then I don't know what I'm thinking
Frank
of.
Miller.
Maybe I'm having like an aneurysm over here. But he
Too much
sounds
Mignola.
cool. I will definitely check him out. And I like the look of his stuff.
I would recommend him. He's very cool. All right. On to my next one. Amani mentioned at the talking about Mignola's inking, and I'm going to next put up for your viewing pleasure someone who I believe does rival Mignola or Al Williamson or anybody, and who I think should be mentioned in the pantheon of the best inkers of all time, and that is Mr. Wallace Wood. One of my absolute favorite artists of all time. Obviously, that's what the show's all about. This is
You're being consistent.
the Spawn. Yep, from the Spawn of Venus, which is a work that he did. Wally Wood was active, and his best work, I feel, was sort of in the 50s. The stuff he was doing for EC Comics. This Spawn of Venus is weird. It was originally intended to be like a 3D printing for EC Comics, but that never happened. So then it got shelved, and eventually he published it. He self-published it in his Wits End magazine. For me personally, when I think of Wally Wood, I think of his like space stuff and the way he draws like space suits and everything like that. And I think his inking is really astonishing. The way he has control of the brush and the levels that he does from like pure blacks, for shadows up through like fine feathering for some of the details and face stuff, like, and everything in between. I mean, he just has control over ink like almost nobody that I've ever seen. I just picked up the artist edition, the Wally Wood artist edition, which collects some of his EC Comics work, and it's really staggering to see these pages and covers and stuff blown up on in like really big size like that. Here's some more stuff he did for Incredible Fiction. I just really, really love him. And then this is probably the one that like always gets me the most, is another piece from him, which I just could live in this stuff all day. I mean, like the way he does, everything down to these, shadows in the background of the spaceship, and then like his space. Nobody draws space like Wally Wood draws space. It just sounds weird, but like his outer space stuff, like showed the stars and the planets and everything, and the ships around them, and this guy's his whole spacesuit and everything. I am consistently blown away and always find more stuff to get into with Wood. He also did a little bit of work. He did a couple issues of Daredevil. He was actually the one who was responsible for giving Daredevil his red costume. If you like number 6 or something like that, because he was yellow and like brown kind of before that. So he did a little bit of work with Marvel and with perhaps with DC. I'm not sure, but if you're interested in Wood stuff, you should definitely check out his EC Comics work, because it will blow you away. I think at least it blows me away. He did a bunch of science fiction. He did some horror stuff, and then a decent amount of war story stuff too for EC. So wide variety of stuff. He inks it all, obviously. Like I think I love him specifically for his inking, and if you really want to go the next level, if you want to get the ultimate Will Baczynski splooge in your pants book, there is a strip that he
I want
worked
that
on
book.
I'll take a
called
pass.
Sky
I'll take a
Masters.
pass on the splooging.
Yeah, you know, don't knock until you tried. Sky Masters of the Space Force, I believe it's something like that, and it was penciled by Kirby and inked by Wally Wood. So like, you can't get much more. You can't get much better than that.
Oh my God, Will died when he got that book.
It is
He
no, it
died.
really is astonishing because it's like it's the power of Kirby, but with the contrast and the inking of Wood, and like it really is quite something to look at. So, you know, again, I am all about heavy lines and line work and inking work when I read and look at comics. So if you
That's
are
really did
remotely
it for
into that
me.
stuff,
That first piece you showed us.
what's up?
Yeah.
That first one. That one.
That one.
I'm
This
into
one?
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's really.
Yeah.
That's really something.
It's really good, and it has like a very classic kind of like a 60s or 50s B movie like aesthetic to it. You know, it kind of looks like Martian Men from Mars, or just something made up like that. Like with the way that the suits are presented, like they're all like cobbled together with like pipes and wires and gears and stuff. So, yeah, you know, EC Comics had an amazing staple of people working on it, and Wally Wood definitely stood out amongst them. Sad later life though. He stopped getting work as much. He had strokes and health problems, and he ultimately killed himself. Took his own life in the 80s.
How sad.
Yeah, and he has like a kind of like a quote when he was getting older and more bitter about like a biographer was talking to him. He said, if I had to do it all over again, I would cut off my hands. And he ultimately did not have a good time, I think, with a lot of the things that he went through. But yeah, you could check out EC Comics. You should also check out Fantagraphics did a box set of Wit's End a couple years ago, but I think you can find the issues. Wit's End was like the first prozine, I guess you would call it, that Wood put together with a bunch of his friends. Like Al Williamson has stuff in it, Frank Frazetta has stuff in it, Neil Adams has stuff in it, tons of people have stuff in it. And it was collected into a box set. I think there's like 18 issues of Wit's End or something like that. So if you're interested in diving further into this style of stuff, I think it's worth a check out. So yeah,
cool.
Have either
Awesome.
of you read any of his stuff before?
I may
No.
have. I've read a lot of those horror comics, but I've never
Stop to smell the roses.
Yeah, exactly. I'm a big fan of those things. Like I have a bunch of epic comics that are like horror anthologies, Alien Worlds, Terror Tales, or something.
Yeah, he also he went on to do. I think Wood did a bunch of stuff for a magazine called like Galaxy, in like maybe the 70s and 80s. I think he did like more sci-fi work for them, but I don't know them that well.
Yeah. So.
How about one more run through? One more from each. I know that's only 3 artists, but you know.
Yeah.
It's already been an hour, so.
Okay, then I'll have to call an audible and switch up.
I know. I have to
talk about.
I know. I was thinking that too. I just think if we keep going, we could be here for
we could do this all day.
A long time.
Isn't that what people expect? Isn't that what people want?
I mean,
Okay.
I enjoy it, but
Can I do a 2-for-1? Because I feel like I like them for the same reason. And they're a little bit more modern. They're very modern. They're very current. The last 2 that I wanted to mention that I think are worth checking out, worth your time, that are amazing, that are continually blowing me away are Assad Rubik and Greg Capullo. I think they're some of the best artists working. I am really, really, really impressed with their content. I'm going to show you. I'm going to let you look at it. That's visual. Okay, Greg Capullo.
You're so nice.
He's drawing Batman, who is the best character ever created ever in the history of characters ever. I like him. This run is really celebrated for a lot of reasons. Scott Snyder is an amazing writer. Greg Capullo is an amazing artist. And his take on Batman is iconic. It's classic. It's timeless. And it's happening now. Like, this is real time. We're seeing this guy make comic history. Like, I'm joking, but I'm also not joking. Like, look at this stuff. He's got such a point of view, like the way he's drawing. He's got a real sense of composition. He's got a real sense of storytelling and paneling. Like, I like my art that is both visually pleasing, but also like storytelling. The storytelling there makes sense, especially in modern comic book runs. I think paneling can get really boring, really stagnant, really dated, really uninteresting. And both Asad Ribic and Greg Capullo have paneling that just blows me away. It is really thematic. It's very cinematic. I can't say enough good things about this. Like, all the way from his sketches to color, like it makes sense, and it's easy to take in, but you can go in there and like look for the details if you want, you know? Like this guy is really using his stuff as a tool. It's a vehicle for you to enjoy these narratives, this story. And I think it's a really great, especially this Batman run is a really great example of a writer and an artist who were meant to work together. These guys fit, these guys work. Like I can't say enough good stuff about this. I really can't. I think he's really, really special, and he's worth your time. He's worth checking out. Look at this. Do I have to say anything about him?
Yeah,
Look at this stuff.
I think he's such a funny example because he's somebody who came and then was able to like get himself out of that. Does that make sense? Like he's like he started work on Spawn, if I'm not mistaken, and
you're right. And his Spawn stuff's really cool.
Yeah, no, it is really cool, but it's like he definitely, came from a time when garishness and overblown and crazy, stuff was going on, and he kind of like was able to weather it and like come out better for it. Whereas I think a lot of artists who came up in that time or were popular in that time don't really exist that much anymore in comic books, or like they weren't able to like, make the alone. Yeah, alone. I know, right? Yeah. No, and I'm not saying they're bad.
I'm
like
just kidding.
The time. I don't think that they made the transition like Capullo did. Like he really.
Well, I think you're exactly right. I think there's like a certain maturity to this, like there's still a lot going on. There's a lot of detail. There's a lot of action happening, but like there's a certain amount of like pulling back and letting you like revel in it and enjoy it and see it, like he's not afraid to draw a lot of stuff, but his panels don't feel like where you're supposed to look. Where the action is happening. What's going on, and like there's moments of rest, like there's contrast, there's all of like the basic tenets of good art. And I think he transitions really well into stuff that Asad Ribic does, because I like them for the same reasons. Like Asad Ribic's covers are obviously what he's like super uber famous for, and I like them. I enjoy them. Like I think his take on like these sort of like just his character designs alone are really interesting and fun. I really like Gore from Jason Aaron's run on Thor. That arc especially, and this character Gore is like I'm blown away by. I think it's fascinating. I think he's an incredibly designed character. But what really gets me about Asad Ribic is that when you transition into the actual content, like into the interiors, like the paneling is so thematic and so like it makes sense. Like this guy is telling a story. He's not trying to like show off. He doesn't have to. Like his art speaks for itself, and he's really like
he serves the story. I agree. His ability to serve the story is pretty astonishing, while still like being a remarkable artist.
Yeah, and I think that's something that we don't realize, because when it's done right, you don't know, like
you don't notice it
happens to you. Yeah, and both
isn't that Russell Dudeman?
Oh, is this? I think
that's Russell Dudeman.
Either way, this is really good too.
It is good. I do like him a lot.
The Jason Aaron stuff it makes me happy. I like it. I think you should like it too.
Yeah, have you read his Silver Surfer Requiem?
I have not. It looks
really good. Yeah, like every single panel is almost like a cover page. I have it somewhere
in a good way.
Shelf. Yeah, like it looks really, really. I don't know. It's the first Silver Surfer I've ever read, and I was like, "Holy shit!" And it's like a really self-contained story. I think it's only like 4 issues or so, but it's a great book if you get a chance to pick it up.
I was like looking a little while ago about and stuff, just like different artists who I would like love to get commissions for and stuff. And I was looking at Asad Ribic stuff. It's so expensive.
Oh, I bet.
It's like $1,500 for him to even think about drawing something. Like it's nuts. Like I mean, because everything he draws basically, like you're saying, MJ, like looks like it's quality enough to be like a cover.
Yeah.
thing. Like it's nuts.
Both of them have that detail thing going on that MJ was talking about, where like it kind of brings this extra layer to the world building as well, that I think is really important.
Mhm.
I like the way that they serve the story while also being just kick-ass artists. Like I really respect that. I
Yeah.
think that's really important, especially in sort of a landscape where comics are becoming very like in and could become very like one note and very like uninspiring, where they're serving the same things. These guys are bringing energy and life to their runs that I think is worth talking about.
Yeah,
Okay.
I agree. Very much so.
MJ, what do you got going on?
Ani, did
Well, I had
you
a
want to do
bunch-
like a list of honorable mentions real quick
Yeah,
in case you're
I was
interested?
gonna suggest
Because I
that.
know like I said, we're not going to have time to
Cool.
necessarily show photos of everything, but
Okay. The other two people that I was going to talk about if we had time were Brian Lee O'Malley. I think this is like the European write and draw at the same time. Like he's a great example of somebody whose style really fits what they do, and that's really great. I know Scott Pilgrim is the most famous thing in the world, but I think Seconds by him is absolutely amazing. It's one volume and you can sort of consume it and enjoy it and do that. And then also just to go completely totally different, like not really classic comics, Anthony Holden does a comic strip through his Tumblr that's all about his family. He's a BYU alum. He does this sort of like Calvin and Hobbes style comic strip about like his kids and his life. That is absolutely the most charming, funny, like quick bite of happiness you have ever tasted. So good. He also does animated GIFs of his comics he's like an animator too. And seeing his line work come to life and be animated is really, really cool. I'm going to send Will a link and he'll put it in the YouTube chat because I apparently can't do that.
apparently not.
Yeah, apparently I'm an idiot.
You might have to be a moderator to post links in chats.
Yeah,
I don't know.
either way, I'm going to send them to Will and maybe you can post them. But he's really cool. Definitely check him out. He just came out with a book of all of his comics that I think he's available on his online shop. So you can
What's
go
his
there.
name?
Or Anthony Holden. He was
I don't
a
think I know him.
storyboarder in the animation industry, and now he just kind of does his own stuff and lives his life, and is really cool.
Cool.
Yeah,
All right.
Good job, Anthony.
yeah. I support you, Anthony.
All right. So
Okay.
I guess it's my turn.
Yeah.
Yep.
It is.
All right. So I'll just do my I guess honorable mentions first, and then I'll do my main guy. First honorable mention would be Sean Phillips, of course. Sean Phillips is freaking amazing. Yeah, if you haven't read any of Sean Phillips's or seen any of Sean Phillips's work, just I would suggest anything that he's done with Ed Brubaker. I think it's freaking amazing.
What's funny is I like him, but I have a hard time. Like I don't like him as much as I feel like I should.
I like the way he draws. I don't know. I think like in combination with Ed Brubaker's like noir like leanings, I think he works really, really, really well in that aesthetic. So yeah, that would be one, and then the next person would be Alex Maleev in the Bendis Daredevil run. Really awesome stuff. I like his use of shadows and yeah. So that would be my other runner up. So I'm just kind of showing off some Alex Maleev stuff from the Daredevil run, and the person I wanted to talk about is the artist from Black Sad.
Oh yeah,
does fucking amazing work. Like every single panel is like this beautiful watercolor painting. I forget his name. I forget how to pronounce his name. Guardino. Yeah, Juanjo. I don't know how to say it.
Guarnido.
Yeah. Amani,
Juanjo.
I think you're on mute, Amani, by the way.
Yeah, I just unmuted.
There you go. But yeah, I think his work,
you motherfuckers.
his work is beautiful. Like, it's just so detailed. There's so much going on. It's kind of leaning towards that thing of building this world with his art. And just every single panel is just always stunning.
I think his
there's
facial expressions are really good. Like he's able to imbue so much character into these like animals who aren't necessarily like, you know, human faces.
Yeah, and I think it's just amazing. I don't know. I really like something about him. Like the first time I even heard of Black Sad, I was like, oh, that sounds interesting. I like noir. I like that whole like 20, 30, 20s, 30s, like, you know, grizzled cop thing. And then all of a sudden I looked at the art and I was like, holy shit. Like it totally just blew me away. Um, and like you said, like I think his use of facial expressions is just on another level, especially with animals that don't necessarily have like faces, like ducks and things like that. Like he's able to add such like a characteristic to them.
Yeah, it's weird. Like
But
I have
yeah,
like in my mind a firmer understanding of Black Sad, like who that character is through like the facial, or I don't know if that's his name, but like I haven't read the comics, but my point is that like I can identify that character and the facial expressions on that like better than I can with like a lot of, if you just showed me like Peter Parker or whatever, I'd be like, I don't really know who that is, but like there's so much character to his characters, if that makes sense. Like I
yeah,
really just like am able to understand who that character is just through the facial expressions.
I also like
yeah,
really respect like the weirdness. This is a guy who basically was like, I'm gonna combine like oranges and like a shoe. Like people don't know that they want this orange shoe, but like they're gonna get it. Like this black noir, like anthropomorphic, like who
Yeah, I'm not really usually
this
into
was, like,
anthropomorphic stuff either.
he just did it and it works. And I like really respect that. I think that's really, really cool.
so yeah, that would be my my pick would be uh I terrible at his name, but I said it earlier, so we'll just leave it at that. I don't want to
I like how
embarrass
you like
myself
just
anymore.
Googled it for us so we could just decide if we wanted to learn how to say it.
Yeah, because that's I can't even.
Is he
But
Spanish? He's Spanish, right?
yeah, the Black Sad
Like
is
as in from Spain.
yeah, Black Sad is a Spanish book. So
Yeah.
yeah. And what about you, Will?
Last one. So yeah, I also like MJ. I'm gonna do my some of my honorable mentions. Um, Al Williamson was one of them that I wanted to talk about. I had showed his Flash Gordon book the other day, and I know Amani was excited to see it. And
I
he
want it.
is who's we're working on it. He's somebody whose line work and inking is incredible.
Mhm.
I also had Jim Steranko in there
Yep.
because of, you know, for all the things that I love Jack Kirby, you know, for Steranko kind of tore it all down and was like, you don't have to panel like this. Like, you don't have to do any of that stuff. Like, you can make, you know, mazes in the middle of your page that people have to turn, or like you can make silent sections of your book where everything is just shown like that. Like Steranko is equal parts graphic designer and comic book illustrator. And then I was also going to mention David Aja or Aja. I've had people tell me it's Aja, but probably not like pronounced exactly like that. But the gentleman who worked on Iron Fist and Hawkeye takes that Steranko lineage and like blows it up to the next level. Like when I think about his stuff, it's all you know, paneled and laid out almost like a graphic design style and like done so cleanly and amazingly. So there's a lot of people, and you know, Joe Kubert was on that list. I'm sure many of you know my love for him. I think he is an amazing guy. And
Sergeant Rock. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Joe Kubert
Sergeant Rock
as well.
Yeah, you said in the document that you were going to mention him. I mean, there's so many. It's hard to condense it down, but
Yeah,
I would be remiss if I did not mention Mobius as one of my absolute favorites. And what I've decided to show today is something that is not, I think, known that well from him. It's called 40 Days in Desert B. If you know Mobius at all, you know that he's like a very kind of like mystical, shamanistic person. Like Jodorowsky, you know, and him and Mobius have an incredible history together. Alejandro Jodorowsky, if you're interested in learning more about it, there's tons of stuff out there. There's an amazing documentary called Jodorowsky's Dune, which is all about their, you know, relationship and what led to the Incal and all that stuff in the 80s. But the spirituality and stuff of Jodorowsky also presents itself in Mobius. And Mobius had experiences when he was younger. I think his mother was dating or is married to or something, a Mexican man, and they lived in Mexico, or he spent some time in Mexico. The details, I'm sorry, are messy. But basically he called with the desert and with like the experience of being kind of alone in the desert and having that like really kind of, you know, I'm not sure if he's out there like peyote smoking, but like that whole kind of like mythic desert feeling that you get from a lot of like media and stuff. And so he did this book. This is actually one of the later books that he did, which is kind of unusual because mostly I like his earlier stuff. But he did this book called 40 Days in Desert B, which is it's wordless. It's just pages, and every page is just a full-on illustration. And I'm going to scroll through some of them. And they are astonishing to me, mostly because of his ability to convey imagination, illustration, in a way that like is really mind-boggling. You know, he like that one is something else, man. Like he has these kind of like visions and these things that he sees and understands, and then is able to translate them onto a page in a way that is very rare for anybody to be able to translate. And you know, like there's something I love, you know, guys like Joe Kubert, or even David Asha or Jim Stranker or whatever, like, but there's something about the fact that they are living in a world where there are still boundaries. Holy shit.
Oh no.
What just happened?
Yeah.
No idea what just happened. But what I was going to say is there's something about the fact that they're living in a world that still has boundaries. And Mobius it has not. He's like, God damn it, Turtle. He has like shattered everything, all perceptions of, you know, what you can draw on a page and what you can pull from your imagination.
Yeah, he's just on a totally different level.
He's just on a different plane of existence, you know. And like whether or not he is the best, you know, artist or whatever, or whether or not his composition or his line work is the best or not, he just is on a level of taking something that is so completely and totally from his own brain and from nobody else's, and putting it on a page. And it's amazing. I mean, there just aren't that many people that can tap into that kind of like that external space where you just like anything you want to draw, any perspective, any object, anything like that, it can just be drawn and shown and displayed in a way that is understandable to, you know, everybody else. So,
well, I think also he has that like influence factor too. Like this guy has
absolutely
basically made his stamp on art, like not just comics, but like illustration. Like,
yeah,
the number of students who talk about him every year, it's all of them, all of the students. Everybody talks about him.
All of the students.
Every single one. Every single one has heard his name, you know? Like that's insanity. That's huge.
Yeah, and it is kind of like a legend thing. It's like and I had that experience where I was like yeah, where I was like inducted into Mobius, where, you know, Kurt, who's my buddy, and I've talked about him a couple times on this, and he kind of got me into Mobius, and like sort of told me to look at some of the stuff, and I looked at it, and just instantly I was like down the craziest rabbit hole. Where like, because once you start seeing it and sort of getting a glimpse of what he can do, you just like can't get enough. And I think he's interesting, like in the sense that a lot of the works that I like best from him are produced with other people. Like I love his stuff with Blueberry. I worked with Charlier, or I think Jean-Michel Charlier, something like that. And his work on the Ink Call with Jodorowsky is pretty astonishing. When he does his own stuff, I really like it, but it does kind of go off into like kind of pretty quickly. But you should check out the World of Adina book that came out from Dark Horse earlier this year, because it is a excellent mix of like the time period where he was at his artistic kind of powers and world building and strange weirdness, but not getting like too far off of the track of like being able to follow it. So yeah, you know, Mobius, fantastic guy, amazing illustrator, Nobody captures imagination like him, except I would say if you are interested in Mobius, you should check out Ryan Otley, the guy who's working on Invincible right now. Because if you follow him on Tumblr, he posts like pen sketches and like and stuff what he does with like his son, where his son just draws like lines, like doodle lines, and then he turns the lines into full-blown crazy illustrations. And to me, he's the one who's like closest to coming close to even capturing that kind of level of imagination
of insanity
on a page. So yeah, like really nuts. Ryan Otley stuff is up there. Yeah, I mean, it's just something else to be able to pull and then express that kind of art from the spaces of creativity onto a page in a way that, you know, is rare, few and far between. And unfortunately, Mobius passed away, I think like in 2008, you know, a number of years ago. But his stuff is always out there, and like you said, Amani, it's going to be influencing people for forever and ever. As long as people are interested in as long as people are interested in using their imagination, like they will find him. And
for the rest of
and
time,
it will be something special. Yeah. Awesome. That was a fun conversation. I enjoyed going through. Yeah, Frank Quietly is also great. I'm sure like you guys, you know, Darwin Cook, Sean Murphy, I saw in the comments, all excellent artists.
So many.
This is an all-consuming conversation. There's so many, and especially like, you know, we could go down completely different paths, like the things that Amani was talking about like, you know, the more illustration side of it, like European comics, you know, we didn't even mention any of that kind of stuff. Like we were saying, Tintin, with Herge did, or there's so much. There's so many avenues you could go down. I mean, I didn't even talk about any of the strip stuff I like, Alex Raymond and Prince Valiant and all that stuff.
There's some like cartoonist style artists too that I really like that just take it to like a really simplistic, like what's his name? He goes by Jason. That's like his name.
Yeah,
his like artist name. I like his stuff. It's super simplistic, really like minimalistic. Really
his books are funny too. This like I Killed Hitler and all that stuff. Like,
yeah, dude, that one's great.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've read it, but I really like that.
I've seen images from it, but I haven't read it. Oh, and people are saying Tim Sale.
Really good. Tim Sale. Oh my god, that was another guy that was on my list. That
incredible. Yeah. Philip Druillet, another one. You know, up there with Mobius in terms of French imagination authors. Alex Toth, Mark Schultz, Steve Epton, Chris Samney, Peter Gressel. Yeah, I mean everything. Everybody's putting these in the comments. I wholeheartedly agree. We could do this forever. So let's take a quick break, and then we're going to come back and do a brand new and exciting way to do consuming, and sign off on the show after that. Alrighty, guys, we are back with Amani's favorite section, consuming.
We don't know that.
We don't know that. It is going to be Amani's favorite section. I am altering, at least for today, we'll see how it works out, and we're going to call it Boom 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 Consuming Countdown, where with each thing that you would like to talk about, you have 1 minute. There will be a 1 minute timer to talk about what you would like to do in that time period, and then the timer will go off after 1 minute, and we will rotate to the next person's turn to talk about one thing, and they will have a minute. And then we will rotate around. So that way, I think we will keep ourselves a little more focused, and you can kind of get, you know, what you really want to say about the piece out, but it won't necessarily bog down everything. We'll be able to go round robin style, and then, you know, realistically, if each of us has 3 or 5 things, it won't take more than, you know, 15 or so minutes. So I hope that this is a good. Do you approve, Amani, or is this a?
No, this is great. It's still my favorite section.
This is great.
Guys, continuing.
We did it.
Everybody was worried.
So,
don't be.
Consuming countdown. Who wants to take the first step on the consuming countdown? I have a couple things, so I don't know.
I have 3 things I could talk about.
I have one thing. So,
all right, Amani, why don't you do your consuming countdown? Choose one of your things, and 3, 2, 1, and then I will start my 1 minute timer on my side, and you can go until it stops.
Okay, 3, 2, 1. Dirk Gently's Holistic Detective Agency. I mentioned it last week. I watched another episode. I'm kind of like taking my time with it, marinating in it. It's still absolutely amazing, still fantastic. Some of the best casting, some of the best scripting I've seen in a really long time. I don't know what it is about this show, but it's got me excited for like TV again for whatever reason. Like it's doing the sci-fi detective comedy thing right. And if that sounds interesting to you, please go check it out.
30 seconds.
I like it a lot.
You can end early, by the way. That's an option if you want.
You should watch it. For those of you who are new, it's a Douglas Adams adaptation from a book, and if you like Douglas Adams, like they're doing it. It's on screen. It's beautiful. It's cool.
10 seconds.
And it's starting to get like the emotional heaviness that you eventually start craving. It's good.
Perfect. 3, 2, 1.
I did it!
Beep, 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 beep. Yay!
Yay!
Is 1 minute a good? Do you think 1 minute's a good time frame to talk about?
Well, I guess we're gonna find out.
MJ, do you want to go next, or do you want me to go next?
Yeah, sure. I'll go.
Ready?
Can you
3.
sound less short?
Yeah, let's do this.
Tell me 3, 2, 1.
All right, 3, 2, 1,
Go.
go. I only watched one movie this week.
Oh, jeez, are you okay?
It was called. Yeah, I was really busy this week. So, it's called Escape from the Bronx. It's the second film in a trilogy of Italian Mad Max exploitation ripoff films. It is set in a crumbling New York in which a gang's overtaken the Bronx, and it is now like quarantined off, and they're trying to evacuate everybody from the Bronx, and by doing so, they're going in and killing people with machine guns. You got Henry Silva as a bad guy, a heavy, if you will. Directed by Enzo G. Castellari. It's pretty good. It's not great. There's a lot of explosions, a lot of head bashing, stuff like that. Is entertaining. If you're not really into like kind of Italian exploitation ripoffs, probably won't be your thing, but I highly enjoyed it.
Excellent. You just snuck in the 1 minute, but I feel like it might have rushed you a little bit. So what if we do 2 minutes?
Yeah.
Or maybe a minute and 30 seconds. So I feel like short. You can keep going about that if you want to. We're
learning.
Thinking about it.
Going about just that. Yeah, Escape from the Bronx. It's like I said, it's the second in a trilogy. So you have 1990, The Bronx Warriors, Escape from the Bronx, and then The New Barbarians. Escape from the Bronx. They all, I think the first two first 2 or 3. I can't remember if they have like the main guy. It's this guy named Mark Gregory. I think these are pretty much the only movies he ever did, and he's the weirdest like main actor in the film. Like to have, because he's like the most effeminate like tough guy you will probably ever see in film, and so much so that he has like this weird walk that everybody kind of made fun of him on the set for. If you get a chance, just Google it. It'll pull it up and you'll see it's weird, but yeah, check it out if it sounds interesting to you.
Is it in a box set, or did you get it individual?
I individual Blu-rays from Blue Underground. Yeah, the transfers are pretty good. Not the best, but they're pretty good. Pretty good.
Pretty good. Excellent. You snuck in right in time.
And he's like a minute and a half savant. Like he just feels it. He knows.
Just feel it. All right, I'm gonna go for my first one.
Feel it.
Feel it. Feel it. Feel it. Feel it. Dude,
and now a musical interlude from MJ.
Now a musical interlude. All right, 2 minutes. My first
I like
one
how
is
the
going
time
to
just gets to 2 minutes for Will.
Oh wait,
you guys will get a minute. I'll get 2 minutes. It'll be great.
We'll do 2 minutes for you. Hey, we just ate 15 seconds of my 2 minutes, so just don't be mean. All right. Last night I watched Ghost in the Shell again. This is probably the 3rd or 4th time I've seen it, but with my TV situation, I've decided to go back and watch in a while. And looking at the Scarlett Johansson trailers kind of made me curious, because people were like cutting together the two of them. Man, that movie's so goddamn good. It's so fucking good. I love it. It's like just the peak of, I think it's 1997, I believe. So it's kind of like right in that sweet spot before things started getting too digital for me in anime. And it still has like a lot of traditional animation with it. There's a lot of weird craziness with the story, like a lot of government, like the TIFSIFL and the CTFY and their capture programs. Like the story is just like crazy mumbo jumbo for some of it, and then for other parts of it, I really think it gets about the nature of life and whether or not electronic beings have a soul, and is it the destiny of humans to expand beyond their physical capabilities into the outer world and stuff. It's real. I like that kind of stuff. Animation is stellar. It looks really good. I have the Blu-ray, which is the 25th anniversary one.
Which translation did you watch? Or did
I
you watch the dub or the English?
I watched the dub. I did watch the dub. The dub is pretty bad.
The dub has audio issues in that disc.
Oh really? I didn't notice it to be too bad. But I hit my 2 minutes. But
sorry.
There's just real quick. There's a Ghost in the Shell 2.0, which is the first movie, but it's like don't get it. It's all like digitized and like CGI'd in, and it's like a George Lucas cut of Ghost in the Shell. Don't do that. Go for either the 20 or the or just the original. Like, is there a Blu-ray release, MJ? Do you know, before the 25th anniversary? I don't know.
No, there's not.
Okay. Well, either way, I thought the transfer was really good. I thought it looked sharp and great. The dub was not great, especially the majors. It sounds weird, but I'm already over my 2 minutes, so that's all I'll say. But yeah, fantastic movie. I am curious to see how the Scarlett Johansson one goes because
it's gonna suck.
This movie just sets such a this movie sets such a tone and like lets you ruminate in it, like how kind of. I just don't think they're gonna have the balls to do that with a mainstream one. So anyway,
the music too. The music cues in that amazing. So yeah, we'll see. It's got a lot to live up to.
Can I share something kind of shocking with you guys? I've never seen Ghost in the Shell.
Wow.
I know so it would be my favorite thing.
Is what you're telling me?
Yeah, I haven't lived.
I think you would like it.
I know I would. I know. Like I have no doubt in the world. Like
yeah.
I'm sure I would. I just haven't seen it because I'm done.
And like I was saying, especially just kind of like the braveness it has to like sit on scenes and kind of like show you some of the gross stuff that's going on.
Thing. I love that.
Really good. Yeah, exactly. Like it just takes the time. Like there's a lot of scenes where, like MJ was saying, the music is so good and it's kind of just like slow showing you like what Tokyo's like and like how the world is like. And I'm cautiously pessimistic about Scarlett Johansson's version, but.
It's gonna suck. Mark me. Quote me. It's gonna be terrible.
All right, Amon, you got 2 minutes. You ready?
Okay. 3, 2, 1, go. I started reading Squadron Supreme, and I don't really like it so far. That's what I have to say. That's it. That's my review. I'm like 50 pages in. I get that it's like
drop the mic.
Beginning of yeah. I get that it's like the beginning of this like heroes trying to fix the world by like becoming what they hated kind of a thing. Like I understand that. I get that it's like this benchmark. I get that people love it. I'm not loving it so far. I don't know.
I don't think it's like universally as loved as like Watchmen and stuff. That's kind of part of the reason why I picked it.
Hopefully not, because it's not Watchmen. Whatever it is, it's not Watchmen.
No, it still is mired in traditional comic form, like Watchmen is not.
Yes, exactly. And I think I haven't read a lot of Golden Age, Silver Age stuff. Like I don't know much about like comic history. To me is not like it doesn't inform everything I read the way it does for you, Will. So this is one of my first forays into it, and I don't know. I want to like it because I don't want to be a jerk, but so far I'm not feeling it. But I just started it, so we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Fair enough. I mean, if you don't like, it's one of those things where if you don't like if the form of it itself is not something you find fulfilling, I doubt it's going to be able to tell you something in that form that you will enjoy.
I'm gonna like really enjoy it. No, and I'm getting that, and it's kind of like making me I need to like rethink how I think about comics, maybe.
Interesting.
Like I maybe need to have an existential crisis really quick.
And it just means that maybe traditional stylings are not.
But I don't want to be that person who like can't handle like I don't know. Like I want to be able to have a respect for it. I'm not feeling.
You don't have to kill your idols, right?
Yeah, maybe I should. Maybe I should just murder it in its sleep. I'll think about it. I'll think about it, and I'll get back to you about the murdering.
Well, in case you are interested, everybody, the 30th is
Just casually mention this
going to
thing.
be our book club is going to be on the 30th at 9 p.m. Amani, have you seen Akira?
Yes, and I loved it.
Okay,
Loved it.
then you'll probably love Ghost in the Shell.
I know I will. I know I will. Need to watch it.
Excellent. MJ, you got another one that you can dredge up, or are you tapped out?
No, that's I mean, there's tons of things I could talk about, but nothing that I actually consumed.
MJ's not a liar, Will. MJ tells the truth 110% of the time.
Wow.
Or I could be lying right now.
If he only watched 3 things, he only watched 3 goddamn things, and that's it.
Goddamn things. Well, then I will go again. 3, 2, 1, go. I watched Dread again, which I have not seen since I saw it in the theaters.
Ooh, that's a good one.
It is good. This Blu-ray that I bought though is garbage. It's it's the Blu-ray and the 3D Blu-ray on one disc.
Mm-hmm.
My God, it shows like it looked really bad, and some scenes it looked okay, but a lot of times like the transfer and like the graininess like is just bad. Like it just has like compression stuff everywhere, which is funny. Before I met you, MJ, and started getting more serious about like film, it's probably something I would not have like thought that much about. But now that it's kind of like in my mind space, I watch things and I'm like, oh man. So
yeah,
unfortunately, it's not a great a way to experience the movie, but the movie itself is pretty cool.
So you're saying it's MJ's fault you didn't like it?
Oh no, I still liked it, but okay. You know, it's something that I am more aware of now. The movie's good though. Like it's a cool, you know, action set piece, and I really have a love for those kind of movies where it's like, all right, you got to move up 30 floors, or like we're locking down the building and you have to clear it out or whatever. Like I love when things confine themselves to a specific space and kind of like let the characters like really explore that space and stuff, and this does that really well. Like I'm wild about the whole like slow-mo drugs and the like it sort of feels like it's made for 3D, you know, like the whole like water
Definitely
droplets and everything.
And like that's a chance to
cool.
watch
I saw it in 3D when I saw it first, yeah, in the theater. And I thought it was cool, but like it's just my feeling about like movies that I'm not like really big into when they play to technology gimmicks. Like I would rather just see like a really solid movie that could be seen anywhere instead of being like, oh, you got to watch it in 3D, you know. But I still think it's good. I still think it's quality. I would love to see a Dread Netflix series. Like, holy crap, I would love to. Oh, I'm out of time. Because I mean, it didn't really do that well, but I think it has somewhat of a cult following, and if they did that like up right with a like a 8 episode Netflix series, I'll be all over that.
That's like a really good point. Like Netflix has become like this safe haven for like
for like saving some like stuff that's a little more
all of the stuff that it doesn't need a wide release, you know, but like still has enough of a following
like
to make it worth it.
They're creating of them as curators of comic shows to some extent. So like I don't think Judge Dredd would be out of place like in that out of thing, you know. So that would be my hope. Like I was reading a little bit on the wiki page after I watched it, like about sequels and stuff, and there's been rumors here and there, like how they would do it, and maybe another film and maybe a TV series. But yeah, go to Netflix, man, because you could do some really cool stuff with Carl Urban is so good in that.
He did a damn good job.
He's so good. I just really like him as an actor, like all the time. But he just does Dread so well, like the constant like malice and kind of and like scowl, but like little bits of like humor and the timing and the way he does stuff. Like, yeah.
Have you ever thought about how sore his mouth and like his spit must be at the end of the day of shooting? Like he must be like I bet at the end he was having like spasms and stuff because he was just frowning so
just couldn't unfrown.
Yeah, poor guy. The things he does.
Poor guy.
You know, everybody thank him.
I do like him.
Everybody sent him an email thanking him.
I liked him in Lord of the Rings. I like him in Star Trek. I like him in Dread. I just like him.
He's so good in Star Trek.
He like hands it up so well. Like
yeah, MJ and I talked about this. The curmudgeon. He's such a good curmudgeon.
Yeah, Bones. He plays a good Bones.
He does.
That's for sure.
Yeah. So
also Olivia Thirlby is pretty great.
Really good.
She's great in it too. It's true.
I think she's gorgeous. But she's also a really great actress. I've seen her in a lot of other things where I'm like, hey, that's Olivia
I was trying to
Thirlby.
think
Like,
of when I was watching. I
and
was
so,
like,
yeah.
I didn't really know her from anything that I could remember. But
The first thing I remember seeing her in, and she's in Juno.
yeah, I
She's
read
the
that. Yeah.
sister, and I was like, yeah, that's it. That's the first time I saw her, and I was like, oh, okay.
Also,
And then
Cersei is the is Mama, which is kind of funny. So
yeah,
if you like I think her name is Lena Headey or something like that, something along those lines. So if you like her, she's equally mean in this lady. Do you have another one, Amani?
I have something I could mention real quick. I don't think I'll need 2 minutes for it. I've
If
talked
you want
about
to,
it
go for
before.
it. If not, go for it.
Yeah. 3, 2, 1, go.
Go.
Dead of Winter, the board game. It's sort of a co-op zombie apocalypse type of a deal.
Oh yeah, wasn't there an expansion put out?
I hope so. We were actually talking about it while we were playing. We hoped there was. So if there is,
I feel like I
cool.
read something that there was one recently.
Okay, well, I support that, and I support you, Will. I support everything.
Thank you.
I'm in a good headspace right now. Dead of Winter was a lot of fun. The more people you have playing it, the harder it gets, and I think that's where the real fun gets going. And it's a real co-op. Like it really becomes a co-op then, where you have to like decide who's going to do what, how you're going to do your resources, and there's a mechanic in it that has like a possibility for a betrayer because everybody has secret objectives, and they kind of make you do and say weird things to like be able to win the game. So it's a really well built co-op, better than Walking Dead type of a thing. And if that sounds interesting to you, like if you're into board games, this is one you should definitely check out. It's worth the money. It's really, really well designed, really well built, has a lot of parts, but it can be intimidating to play the first time, but once you get the rules, it's all very logical and makes a lot of sense, especially if you've played board games before. I'm always impressed by it when I play it. I'm always impressed by the designing.
I'm always impressed by board game design in general. It's quite a feat.
This is definitely one I think you should check out, Will. It's a lot of fun. It's really complex. The replayability is super, super high. I've played it 3 times now, and it's never been the same. It's always been interesting. It's a good time. And, you know, with board games, you need the right people around, so don't play with people who blow.
Yeah.
You should have a good experience. Right, MJ?
That's just life, though. Don't play with people who blow.
We live by those.
People who do blow, not blow themselves.
Yeah, no, I got you. All right. That's all I have. That's all I got to say.
All right, then I'm going to wrap up I'm going to do a quick wrap up. All right, ready? Lost Watch 016.
Oh.
Oh, yes. You thought you were safe. I am now about to end season 5, which means there's only one more season left.
Thank God.
It still is what it is at this point. Like, there are characters who I really love and I want to follow their stories through, and then there's characters that I just find like insufferable and total crap. And like, unfortunately, the show tends to split its time kind of equally between the two of them. So like, whenever there's characters I am into, I'm like, all right, this is cool. Like, I love to see where this is going. And then when there's characters that I'm not, I'm just like, man. So that's my Lost update. Real nice and short. I watched Vigilante per MJ's recommendation. I enjoyed it a lot. I thought it was really good in a lot of ways. I didn't think it was great. I thought, like, for me, this is going to sound weird, but it wasn't like violent enough for me. It wasn't like quite what I was expecting it to be like, as kind of gory and like grindhousey. Cause I feel like I like my movies in 2 ways. If we're going to go down that violent street, like one way, it could be like the bad guy is fighting like 10,000 people at a time, like in Dread, where it's just like tons and tons of people. Or if you're going to go the vigilante way, where it's kind of like only, 6 or guys that are kind of like ever get dealt with in the movie, I would like the scenes to be like much more brutal. So there was like the scene when when the main guy killed the gangster when he was like with the prostitute. I thought that was really good. Like, there were certain scenes that really stuck out to me, and it was weird. Like, some of the filmmaking I felt was more inspired than other bits. Like the beginning when the girl's getting on the elevator and the guy like assaults her, I thought that was really good.
Yeah.
Like the angles it used and like showing the elevator going up and stuff, that was awesome. But then there were middle parts that I felt were like a little more uninspired, and then it would kind of like kick back in like a little bit again when there was kind of like a scene of confrontation. So overall, I thought it was good, and I would recommend it to anybody who likes kind of like revenge vigilante stuff. But I did think like parts of it were stronger than others.
Dude, Fred Williamson
the way it
was a
composed.
badass.
Fred Williamson was a badass though. Like when he's like jumping around and like doing like kung fu and like chasing the dude and stuff like that. Like, he's really good.
And then the old dude in the prison.
The old dude in
was
prison
a badass
was awesome.
He was a beast. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely some scenes that I will remember and that stand out, but I do feel like the in between parts were a little bit just lackluster for me. And then finally, I've been listening to a band called Manic Street Preachers. You guys ever listen to them?
Mm-mm.
No, they're like a Welsh rock band. They have a lot of interesting stuff. Like they've been going around for a while, and I had never really heard of them before. But I started getting into this record they did called The Holy Bible. And I would recommend checking it out. It was released in like 1993 or 4 when they had this rhythm guitarist who was like this really tortured guy, like anorexic, self-harming, like really just messed up dude. And he wrote all the lyrics for it and played rhythm guitar on it. And the lyrics are really dark. Like there's a lot of stuff about like prostitution, and there's like a song about anorexia. There's like songs about like, you know, dictators, and so it's a very, very dark album, but with music that's kind of like anthemic and like a little kind of like punky like sing-along stuff. It's weird. Like it's dark but also bright in some ways. And anyway, after this record, the guy, I think his name was Richard, went missing in 1995 and was never found again, and they declared him dead in like 2009. But you know, there's been like supposed sightings of him and stuff, so you should check it out. I don't know, like Manic Street Preachers and The Holy Bible. It's an interesting listen. Music is not as dark as the lyrics might make it seem, but it definitely has like some stuff to dig into if you're into that kind of morbidity like I am. So yeah, that's the end.
That's crazy.
Right.
That's craziness. He just went
the
missing?
guy, like, he just went missing. Like he there's like a whole thing you can read about it. Like he like took money out of accounts to like people, like certain stuff, and like he packed things and then like left some of the things behind, and then like just left, and nobody ever saw him again. And yeah, it was very strange. I mean, he was a pretty tortured, you know, guy, but
sad.
But an interesting record. And you know, anything that you can see a glimpse into somebody when they're like sort of at that breaking point, it's simultaneously like sad and disturbing, but also like really fascinating to me. I don't know, I get that with like Joy Division. I get that with like Nick Drake and stuff, where it's like either died soon after or were on the verge of a breakdown, and kind of like the stuff they made in their final gasps before it was a little too much for them to handle. I think that makes for some really interesting art, but certainly not happy times. Excellent. So thank you everybody for tuning in today. We had an awesome comment section. Lots and lots of different suggestions and comments on the artists we're picking, and we appreciate you guys as always. Ears and eyes. Oh, MJ, you're just the worst at this.
Oh, god damn it, we're in that part again. Jesus, I'm terrible at this. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. This is like,
just talk about where you
There's
can
a
find
lot
the
of
podcast.
things to love about you, MJ. This isn't one of them.
Yeah, it is definitely like, this is like, oh, I'm so
Great.
sorry. All right, but
Don't
yeah,
let-
you can
don't
find
let
the
him get you
podcast.
down.
I'm just so like enthralled by like you doing your thing, and I'm like, all right, cool, yeah, all right. Oh, everyone stop
All right.
talking.
Yeah, all right.
I feel like this is just the next part of the show, just that awkward silence, and then everyone yells at me about it. So yeah, if you want to find the podcast, you can find us on iTunes as well as SoundCloud and any other podcasting apps you might have on your phone.
Pod platforms, as it were.
Yeah, pod platforms.
Yeah, you can head over to Facebook and get part of the conversation. We love to hear from you guys in the comments as well as on Facebook. We love interacting with you guys. While you are interacting, if you feel like it, you can leave some ratings and reviews on iTunes, especially helps us out, gets us in front of new eyes. If you don't feel like doing all the work, doing all that typing, go ahead and share us with your friends. Spread us around, word of mouth. It is the classic way of becoming a thing, like an internet thing.
Exactly. It is the classic way.
In real life. Talk to people about us. We challenge you to do that.
Or don't.
Yeah, you know what?
Next week
or don't.
on or don't. Next week on Get a Cat, Get a Horse, we will be doing something. We don't know what yet because we're
It's
busy.
so bad it's good.
It's so bad it's good.
Is what it
Is that what we're
is.
doing? Okay, Amani's going to be
Yep.
leading the So Bad It's Good episode, which I am looking forward to. I believe that term is
Should be
a
interesting.
Z movie. Is that what I've heard it called as? So Bad It's Good.
Find out next week.
Find out next week. I can't tell you now. That would be
Find out.
spoiling our content next week. So, yeah, tune in exactly 1 week when we will be live casting and then posting this stuff later. In the meantime, you can find me online on YouTube at Nerdventures, and you can find me on all the other social media platforms at The Nerdventurer. I am working on a Q&A video that is going to be put up soon, as well as a video on my history of comics, which I think is kind of fun. Fun little thing to talk about. So where can we find folks at?
You can find me my other podcast, Movies, do in-depth discussions, just kind of, just movies in general. And it's podmaxpodcast.com. You can listen to it there or on iTunes or wherever else you get your podcasts from. If you want to converse with me, you can also find me on Instagram and Twitter, podmaxpodcast.
Nice. What about you, Mani?
You can find me under the Nomer Nerdhow on YouTube, Tumblr, and Twitter, as well as on Instagram under Amani CBK for some art, for some good times, for some fun stuff.
Good times, fun stuff.
Yes. You can quote me. All right, guys. Get a cat.
Get a horse.
Adios.
Yay.
As always, thank you guys so very much for tuning in and being part of the Nerdventures channel and community. If you would like to, feel free to click the subscribe link underneath this little pop-up video, where you can get notifications of all the different things, like when we go live for our live stream recordings and book clubs and everything, as well as all the latest videos from me. If you're interested also, you can check out the Patreon link, which I hope is over in that corner and I'm pointing the correct way, where you can see all of the different reward tiers and cool little goodies that you can get for supporting the channel on Patreon. And I would also like to give an infinite thanks to all of those fine gentlemen and ladies who are in the Nerdventures Hall of Fame credits. Thank you so very much. We could not make the channel and the podcast happen without you. Well, we could, but it wouldn't be that great. Well, it would still be great, but it wouldn't be that fun. So thank you so much for tuning in. The community is what makes it all fun, and I will see you guys in the next video. Hope you have a great one.